We've heard tales of daring raids and epic battles from World War II. But there's another story, one that unfolded not on the front lines, but in the quiet rooms of Bletchley Park in England. It's a story of code, machines, and quiet heroism. It's the story of how a secret team of codebreakers led by the brilliant mathematician Alan Turing cracked one of the most complex codes of the time, a feat that not only helped win the war, but also laid the foundation for the digital age. It's a tale that feels almost like fiction, but it's real. And it's a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories are won not with guns and tanks, but with brains and a bit of paper. But before we dive in, make sure to hit the like button. Your support means the world to us. And if you're new here, why not hit subscribe so you never miss any of our thrilling stories? Now let us turn back the clock to a time when the fate of nations hung in the balance. The year is 1932 and the world is on edge. European powers are preparing for what will become known as World War II. As tensions rise, so does the need for secrecy. Military communications must be kept safe from prying eyes and ears. Enter the Germans and their new invention, a machine that will change everything, the Enigma code. This machine is a marvel of engineering, a complex web of rotors and cables that can encrypt messages so they are unreadable to anyone who intercepts them. It's like having a secret language, and the Germans believe it's unbreakable. But they couldn't be more wrong. Across the channel in England, a team of codebreakers at Bletchley Park are about to rise to the challenge. This team is led by Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician and computer scientist. He's the kind of guy who sees a problem and doesn't just accept it. He takes it apart, figures out how it works, and then finds a way to beat it. When Turing and his team first saw the Enigma machine, they thought it was impossible to crack. But he knew that every machine, no matter how complex, has its limitations. And so began one of the greatest battles of the war. A battle not of bombs and bullets, but of wits and logic. For 3 years, Turing and his team worked tirelessly. They analyzed captured German soldiers, trying to find weaknesses in the Enigma code. They needed to figure out how the machine encrypted messages, and whether there were any patterns in the ciphertext that could lead to a weakness. Finally, in 1937, a breakthrough. Turing's team managed to decipher a German message, a significant victory that would pave the way for many more. It was a moment of triumph, but they had only just begun. The next step was to develop a machine that could do what they were doing manually, quickly, and efficiently. And so the bomb was born. It was an early computer, a device that could test thousands of possible solutions in minutes. This machine was a marvel of its time. It used a series of rotating wheels to simulate the Enigma's encryption process, allowing the codebreakers to test thousands of potential solutions in mere moments, instead of the weeks it would have taken to do the same thing by hand. Suddenly, what was once thought impossible was within reach. But developing the bomb wasn't easy. It required some of the best minds of the time and a lot of hard work. Turing and his team didn't just want to build a machine that could break the Enigma code. They wanted it to be as efficient and accurate as possible. They worked day and night, testing and refining their design until they had a machine that could help them stay ahead of the Germans. As the war raged on, the Germans grew increasingly desperate. They changed the Enigma settings more frequently, making it harder than ever to crack. But Turing and his team rose to the challenge. They developed new versions of the bomb that could keep up with the Germans, ensuring that the Allied forces always had the upper hand. The race was on, and it was a close one. It was a race against time, against the ticking clock of the war itself. As the bombs fell and the battles raged, Turing and his team raced to stay ahead of the Germans. They worked under the constant threat of air raids, knowing that if the Germans captured their machines, the war could take a very different turn. Yet they didn't falter. They pushed on, driven by their sense of duty and their belief in the importance of their work. Then came the turning point of the war. In 1943, the Allied forces landed in Italy. The war was far from over, but this was a crucial moment. The invasion of Italy provided the Allies with a new front, a chance to strike at the heart of Nazi Germany. It was a risky move, but it paid off. Within months, the Italian government had surrendered and the tide of the war was turning. And it was during this pivotal moment that the work done at Bletchley Park truly came into its own. The codebreakers there had been working tirelessly to intercept and decode German communications. But now, with the Italian front open, their work took on a new urgency. Every message intercepted, every code broken brought the Allies closer to victory. They were able to anticipate German movements, track the progress of the war, and ultimately help the Allies claim victory. But the work at Bletchley Park remained a secret for decades. Those who worked there were sworn to secrecy, and the full extent of their work was not revealed until long after the war had ended. It was a necessary sacrifice, but it was one that made their work all the more remarkable. They had changed the course of history, but most of the world would never know it. So what was the impact of their work? Historians estimate that the breaking of the Enigma code may have shortened the war by 2 years, saving countless lives. The ability to read German communications allowed the Allies to plan their strategies more effectively, coordinate their attacks, and ultimately win the war soon. It was a victory that went beyond the battlefield, a testament to the power of intelligence and ingenuity. The story of those code breakers, of Alan Turing and his team, is a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories are won not with guns and tanks, but with brains and a bit of paper. After the war, Turing's work didn't end. He continued to pioneer the field of computer science, laying the groundwork for many of the technologies we use today. But his story took a tragic turn when he was prosecuted for his sexuality in a time when it was illegal. It was a gross injustice that stained the legacy of a man who had done so much for humanity. Yet Turing's story had a happy ending of sorts. In 2009, the British government apologized for his treatment, and in 2013, he was pardoned. It was a small measure of justice for a man who had sacrificed so much. As you walk through the historic halls of Bletchley Park today, you can't help but feel a sense of awe. You realize that you're standing where history was made. The walls themselves seem to whisper the stories of those brilliant minds that worked here, of the late nights spent hunched over machines, of the breakthroughs and the frustrations, of the contributions that changed the course of a war. The story of those code breakers is a testament to the power of human ingenuity, the relentless pursuit of knowledge, and the courage to stand up for what's right. It's a story that deserves to be told in Red Hole. A story that reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit won. It has a story that asks us to remember those unsung heroes who worked in the quiet rooms of Bletchley Park, who stared down the complexities of Enigma and emerged victorious. It's a story that inspires us to push the boundaries of what we think is possible, to take on challenges that seem insurmountable, and to emerge not just as survivors, but as victors. So the next time you hear the word codebreaker, remember the quiet heroes of Bletchley Park. Remember the brilliance of Alan Turing and his team. Remember the race against time, the relentless pursuit of victory, and the triumph of the human spirit. Because their story isn't just a part of history, it's a part of us. Can you imagine a world without computers or the internet without Turing? That might have been our reality. Hit subscribe for more untold stories that shape our world. Thanks for joining us.